And we're recording.
We're recording?
We are recording.
Oh, are we recording?
Yes.
Good.
Are y'all recording?
Welcome back for a tiny special episode, I guess, of Are Y'all Recording? My name's Dev. It's good to be back. Also, we have...
I'm Phil.
And we have a special guest. I had to cut it off real quick. We have a special guest back again with us. Forrest, please, let the world know who you are.
Who's your hubby?
Yes, I am Caitlin's fiance. That is just about all I am.
Not true.
You have a voice.
There you go. What else?
And I use it to agree with Caitlin.
Yeah.
Because if I disagree, I'm going to be outside.
This man knows what's up.
Yeah. But I'm glad to be back.
It's good to have you back.
It's
Thank
good.
you.
But I want to talk about something that's been egging at me for a while now. And I know it does everyone from time to time, especially if you're a creator of some sort. It's about being a creative and staying inspired to do your work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not going to lie, that shit's hard.
Yeah, preach.
Because I'm struggling right now just to do more with my channel. And all the other stuff that I want to do as far as being an artist, drawer, painter, I'm struggling with it right now, to say the least. And I don't know how anybody else is feeling.
What do you feel is getting in the way of you kind of making progress?
Looking around, my job. No,
Procrastination for me.
that and procrastination, because for me, I work, 8+ hours in a hospital, and by the time I'm up at 5:30, and I'm out by 3, but I don't get home until about 4:30, and with Dallas traffic, it's draining. You get home,
So much out of you, yeah.
and you get home and you're just tired, and it's just like, I know I should be filming something or recording something, or even just sitting and drawing for a little bit, but
Nothing.
nothing. You want to get started, but the body says, hey, guess what, the TV's on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think for me too, it's just kind of there's a lot of distractions in life, and I think, with TV and video games and stuff like that, it can be easier to, it's a lot of mental strain to really get into that, even though it's something that you love once you're in it. Once you're doing it, it's a lot of fun. It kind of invigorates you, but at the same time, getting into it, starting it, is the hard part. It's kind of going, well, I could, do 30 minutes of writing, or I could play Stardew Valley for 5 hours, so it's just kind of, with all those distractions, that definitely is, plus putting on all the time that you're spending working and doing everything else you need to do in life, so.
There have been many times that I'm on my way home from work, and it's like, or I'm at work actually, and I go, you know what, I'll get home and I can record this, or I can do this, or I can do this. And then it's like, all right, get off work, get in my car in the Texas heat in the middle of it's starting to become summer. Get into my car that's been sitting in the Texas heat that doesn't have any air conditioning.
Yeah.
Drive even a short distance from my work to my job, or from my job to my home. From my work to my job. Just go around the parking lot. But go from my job to home, and by the time I get home, I'm just so hot and tired. I don't want to do anything. I'll just do nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like I just don't want to do anything at that
Yeah,
point.
you're
Because
drained, you're worn out.
And see, when I hear stuff like that and I think about that, it reminds me of stuff that your grandparents would say. Well, back in my day, I had to walk 5 miles to get to work,
uphill in both directions.
and then I came home and I had to do more work, and then you feel like a sad millennial because we're not working as hard as the previous generations before us.
And the thing about the previous generation is that they were nowhere near as stimulated as us throughout the entire day. We have so much flying at us from day to day. All the social media, just the high demand of everyone nowadays. Like, everyone's expecting so much more from everyone. Back in our grandparents' day, they would, go to wherever they had to work, mostly manual labor, come back, do more manual labor, and they were able to build up that endurance. Meanwhile, our jobs are, having to work with a ton of people, having to file and put in data and stuff like that, and really having to, engage on a 100% level all the time. So I think that, and then also coming back home and seeing, hundreds of things we could be doing other than what we should be doing kind of thing. So yeah, I think the thing is that it's just we as millennials are different. We're still taking in the same amount. We're still being drained as much. It's just in a different way to where we look lazy because we can do it all while sitting on our butt. So anyways, that's my 2 cents about that.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
I think you guys touched on kind of an interesting topic of how our creativity can kind of be limited by the amount of physical exertion that we're subjected to. Mm-hmm. A lot of our motivation is tied towards our energy levels. And if the energy is being expended in some other kind of endeavor, such as paying rent by working a job, your creative energy is being siphoned away by that responsibility. And I feel that a stumbling block that a lot of people have is young writers look at people like Stephen King. Filmmakers look at other people who have made it in Hollywood and things like that, and they think, oh, I want to be able to do that. But the fact of the matter is, those people had to start somewhere. They had to make a big break, and before that happened, they had to sacrifice. They had to be able to support themselves, pay rent, take care of whatever family they had, and do that on the side. Mm-hmm. And if I were a betting man, I would bet that took quite a bit of time and quite a bit of effort. Mm-hmm. And so I get tired of people saying, well, maybe I should just quit my job so then I'll have as much time as I want to write like Stephen King. And the fact of the matter is, you are not at a Stephen King level. Even if you write as well as him or as often as him, you don't have the kind of following that he has, and so it's not realistic at this point. There is a building up. There's a threshold that you need to get past, and I think that threshold is what separates the successful people from the masses of every other person who has put pen to paper. Because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, and I think I can serve as an example for that because I've been unemployed for 5 months. I'm finally employed, so but the fact of the matter is I didn't write anymore. I probably wrote less than I did when I was, working a job and in college and doing whatever else I had to be doing at the time. Than when I had full days to myself, not doing anything. So I think it's also too trying to find, looking at what kind of things get into the way, but like how can we motivate ourselves more to do those things, kind of not looking too far ahead and going, well, I'm not here yet, I'm so-and-so age and I'm not where I want to be and things like that. So I think that can be a real struggle with most creatives because it's like, they want to be Stephen King. I've seen so many writers totally just drop off because they're like, well, I'm 24 and I haven't written a novel. And I was like, well, J.K. Rowling didn't finish Harry Potter until she was like in her 30s. So like, and that was her first book. So it's just kind of like, give yourself credit, but where do y'all find motivation, Devin and Phil?
Oh, wow, okay.
If you don't mind, I can start it off. I think motivation can come through discipline. I've heard a lot of people talk like where even if you don't feel like doing it, just put 30 minutes into it. If you have to word vomit on a page, fine. At least you're doing something. You can come back and edit it and maybe it's all garbage, but 30 minutes every day you are subjecting yourself to the creative process. And more often than not, you get 15, 30 minutes into it and you've got something that you're good to follow with and run with for a while, but you have to have the discipline to do so because every time you're not going to want to do it, but you force yourself into it.
Well,
what point?
I think that's something that happens on an individual basis. Like back when I was in college, discipline was a really big thing for me because I wasn't only just a full-time art student. I was also a full-time manager, quote unquote, at Domino's. So not only was I going to school, getting out around 2 just to go to work at 4 and be there till midnight, I was also staying up all night drawing and painting. Hell, I'll be honest, those are times that I actually miss because I was way more disciplined, almost 8-10 years ago than I am right now as a functioning adult because I get up at 5, go to work, and come home, and I don't feel like drawing and painting or recording like I should. I've lost my own disciplinary path that I used to have, and that's because of other factors, but that's beside the point. That's on me at the end of the day.
Well, I think that's interesting too because like I kind of look back at my last year or so of college, and I would be writing 20 to 30 page papers every month, but at the same time too I was still finishing my novel. And then when I graduated, I didn't have those 20 to 30 page papers to write, and I was just like, my brain was like, no, we just don't ever write, like we're done. So it's just kind of like, it's interesting that the less time you have while you're still, I don't know, like, and that's the thing, like, maybe it's just the difference of like the daily grind of work or something like that, but it's, I don't know, it's confusing.
I think it comes down to a regimen. I mean, a lot of people think, this is my work time, this is my free time. In college, work time edges in on your free time, either because you need the money or you need to study or something like that, and so the line becomes blurred. And so I think, again, coming back to discipline, if you're able to just have it as a daily requirement. Daily requirement, you spend 30 minutes in the headspace of creativity, and you got to produce something. It might be garbage, that's okay. At least you've got that one idea out of the way. And tomorrow you come back, you try again.
We're also so full of hope in college. I was just thinking, I think that's another thing. Like, you get into the real world and you're like, oh, well, I have my degree. Now I'm not, like, working toward, like, this specific thing. Now it's just like, please give me a job, or, like, please don't fire me kind of thing. So, yeah, but I think, trying to create, like, a schedule. Like, I've tried before to create a schedule, but I think just the fact of the matter is, how do you, like, sit down and actually make yourself do that? Like, how do you get to that?
I think it would be a matter of making it just as important as, say, having to go to work. At the end of the day, this is just another job. Even if you're not getting anything out of it right away, you will in the long run. So yeah, it's just like, come home from your paying job to come do the job that you really want to do. If you make it just as important as that paying job, it should pay off down the line. That's what I believe. It's just acting on that now, which is the hard part.
That's true. I mean, I think another thing about what's more difficult for our generation is that the old generation was used to delayed gratification. Our generation is definitely not used to that at all. And so, just not being able to, putting in as much work and just not getting anything immediately back from that, like even like 10 years from that point when you're working so hard, not seeing anything, that can be real off-putting for people. And I think for me, like, it's been hard, like with my writing and stuff, because I finished a novel and now I'm kind of in the phase of like, hey, I don't have anyone to edit this for me, so then I have to go and sit down for a next thing, and it's like, me finishing a novel has not paid off yet, so my brain's like, why are we doing this? Exactly. So, so I think that can be the same for being an artist and stuff, is that when you can't get your stuff out there right away, it can be really hard, and it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm not good enough because people don't see me. Exactly, seeing it or admiring it or whatever the case may be. Just kind of making a dream board or something, for yourself.
It's like, I have my bucket list that it's like something I want to meet at least one of these this year. I'm not even forcing myself to say I need to meet at least 5 of these, at least one. If I can do one.
And setting reasonable goals too is smart too. I think one of the things that I learned in college was kind of going, okay, let's not have this giant goal. Let's like break it down into chunks and just take on one chunk at a time. And that's really served me in my professional career, but as far as my creative career, I've never really tried to morph it over. So, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, we cut you off.
No, it's fine. Like, I don't really have any thoughts on this. I was gonna say, I was losing my train of thought. That's a big problem that I have, and I'm doing it right now.
Well, I know with you have this thing where you have so many ideas that you want to spout out all the time, and if you don't get it out right away, you're not going to talk about it. You won't think about it past that point.
Well, a lot of it is what Forrest said, is like, where if you have an idea going through your head, and then it's ended, it's gone forever. Like, you won't remember. Like, I've had several. Whenever I go to work sometimes and I'm not serving, it's my imagination just kicks in because I have an overactive imagination. It's like, this is what's happening somewhere over here or whatever. And then that continues to grow and go and go and go. And then it's done. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's taking so much of my my concentration to work on that, something that's never going to get done or no one will ever see except for me. It's like, I just have nothing left. That's my think tank. It's empty now.
Speaking of ideas ending, I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this problem, but this one for me personally is sometimes my primary creative outlet is writing. And so I'll come up with a story, and sometimes a short story, sometimes it's a long story, but I'll write like a big overview of it, like basically kind of
like a synopsis.
Exactly, a big synopsis of the project, however long it is, and I know how it starts, how it ends, and everything that comes into the middle, and all that's left is for me to actually write it in a kind of a story.
Some type of narrative format.
Exactly. Put it into a narrative, put it into a story format. But since I've already got the story figured out in my head, all that's left is for the audience to understand that. And for some reason, that doesn't grab me as much. And so I've only finished one project. And it was a short story, probably around 30 to 40,000 words. That's the only one I finished, and I have all of these other projects that I know how they start and how they end. And I got a bunch of beginnings, but I can't. Like, by the time I get to the middle of this one thing, I become interested in another idea, and I start a brand new beginning. And the cycle repeats itself. I find another story, I start a brand new beginning, and just have all of these beginnings of stories. Is that something that you guys run into with your creativity?
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
is something that I think is not at all unique with creative pursuits.
So you're saying I'm not special?
No, you're a snowflake.
I love you.
Oh, thank you.
But
A special
anyways.
snowflake.
But yeah, I mean, you can, if you go, I have this file on this folder on my computer that's called Writing Works. You click on that, there's 20 folders. You click on one of the folders, there's 30 ideas in each folder. You know, I have probably, if I were to sit down and just write continually for the rest of my life, I still wouldn't get through all the ideas that I have for novels and short stories and what have you. I think the matter is just focusing. I think that's, for creative people, I mean, our brains are just inherently not designed to focus. I mean, that's what allows us to be creative. But it's just trying to find the way to go, just kind of finding the motivation to say, I want to take this is the most important thing right now, I'm going to put it at the top of my priorities, and I'm going to not do anything else until this is completed. And that's the only reason I was able to finish my first novel, is that I was finally like, I need to get this fucker done. Like, you know, I need to be, you know, done with this and move on to the next thing. But of course now I have 2 sequels that I don't even I don't know what to do with at this point.
But yeah, it comes back to discipline. Nose to the grindstone, head to the right spot.
It's hard to deal with, I know, because like you said, you have a beginning and then you have an end, and it's that part in the middle where you know you need to flesh it out.
Well,
But-
see, the part in the middle I understand the whole story, and for me, the curiosity and creativity of the story has ended. It now becomes the grind of actually putting it into a story format, and that's the thing that takes a bunch of time, and that's where I start to lose interest. Because I mean, I will pursue a story that I'm creating in my mind ravenously until I have everything exactly the way I want, beginning, middle, and end. But then I've got to put it into a format for everyone else to consume, and that is where I have my issue.
And the funny thing about that is, too, with writing, is that if you wrote all that stuff down, you'd still need to do about 5 rewrites. So, because it's just the way that's how writing works. But
putting it down on paper, I've said this many times before, is my case is my brain doesn't work in words. It works in visual effects or visual.
Yeah.
It's I can't, even if I wrote it down, it would come out incomprehensible. Like, I'm almost 100% sure it would come out incomprehensible.
Well,
And like my brain will be, I'll see a scene, I will, like if a scene played out one way, I will go back, reset the scene, play it out a different way, play it out a different way, play it out a different way, and then I'll continue with that, and then like again, not acting on it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think one thing that might help with you, Phil, because you are very visual, maybe just coming up with keywords or even pictures or something like that to kind of help you. Because with me, I have to, whenever I come up with an idea, I don't have them with me today because I dumped out my purse. But I have these little journals, and I just have lines and lines and lines and lines and lines of just one little idea. And so like I have to flesh it out. But I think for you have to go very simplistic for just the keywords to kind of like trigger those ideas in your head rather than trying to transform the ideas and put them down on paper.
Well, see, the thing with Phil is he works opposite the way
A normal person works.
the rest of us work. Where we see an overarching story, Phil's very much, I see a scene, and I'm going to build from that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So Phil works in moments where we tend to see the overall. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do we do to build towards that moment, to the next moment, to the next moment? Feels like I got a really cool moment. I don't know what directions.
It's 100% correct.
Yeah.
It's like if someone is creating a movie, they know how the movie is going to play out entirely. They know beginning, middle, every second of the middle, and the end. My brain works out as like real life, where it's I started today working, or I started today waking up. I have no idea what I'm going to run into. This person might approach me and do this. Or this person might approach me and do this. This person might not approach me at all.
Yeah.
Boy,
I remember even us as kids, like we would like try to like create like an imaginary like world or whatever, and you would just be like, "We're just gonna jump on the trampoline, we're gonna kick you, haha!" That's what we do. Like, what's the context? And you're like, oh, okay, so.
That was very, very imaginative.
But like you had that one thing like fully like fleshed out. So I think, yeah, I mean, and that's another way to just show that people with artistic minds there's different things, and I mean that's why there's so many people on like movie sets and stuff. They all have their different ways of doing things to make it work. And so I mean, like for instance, choreographers for things like they're just focusing on like a 3-minute clip, but it's huge for the entire movie, so kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just trying to find what works best for you to kind of, I think I've also seen you kind of trying to explain things, and you're trying to shove all these ideas through one door, and they're all getting caught in the door, so it's like you can't really get to
Exactly.
one thing. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think one good way to kind of flesh that stuff out is you already come to me with these things as part of your like brain trust. Mm-hmm. So somebody to help get you to that point.
Yeah.
So I think for some, depending on what type of creative you are, because I know writers can be very solitary and just kind of want to let me figure this out on my own. I don't need you. I'll come to you later.
It's
Go
hard
away.
to do work when there's even someone home. Like I'm just like get out.
But I know for Phil, it's a matter of if you have a group that can help you get to this point, that will be really good for you as far as when you're creating. Now, for me, I can be on my own, and I have a tendency to put ideas out into the world, and I'm like everybody's idea man. So I have to learn to keep that to myself and let me flesh out my own ideas. Sorry, stuff popping up on my phone.
Was that my sister?
No.
Damn.
But yeah, it's just about finding what's your best method to work.
Speaking of methods and waiting on Phil's sister, I think this might be an interesting time. Let's talk about collaboration, because this whole scenario just unfolded. We started talking about Phil's creative style, and two other creative people in the group had different kinds of input for him. And I'm thinking that probably helped you, gave you some ideas, and so I believe collaborative efforts can be very, very helpful. However, on the other hand, the reason why Devin is checking his phone is because our usual podcast friends are not here with us right now, and it reveals kind of some of the trouble and complications we might run into with collaborative efforts. So let's
It's like group projects. In
exactly.
School.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a lot to be said for collaborative projects, especially in the area of accountability. If you do not have great discipline, a second step is having someone be disciplined for you. It's a lot easier to be disciplined for someone else because you don't have to do the legwork. You just have to be like, no, you have to do this. And so accountability can be a very good thing. Additionally, can provide a lot of inspiration, like you guys did for Phil just now.
It's also,
and then how does that counterbalance against the fact that the other end of the party may not necessarily work in the way that we would desire them to? So what are you guys' thoughts on collaboration?
Well, I find collaboration useful because am much more accountable to other people than I am to myself. So like, you know, I remember us talking a while back, and we were kind of talking about like how can we make things more organized, and I was like, I'll be the secretary, I'll make everything, make sure everything's
Yeah, she volunteered for that hard.
Like I'll give everyone calendars, I'll make everything organized, and then like in my own life I'm just like, where are my pins? It's just I like collaborating with people because it kind of gets me into the habit of like I want to be there for people. I want to make sure everything's like a well-oiled machine. So then that kind of will translate into my own life from there. So kind of, yeah. But what do y'all think about collaboration?
See, for me, with the collaboration, it's a matter of compromise. I'm fairly malleable. I can adjust to almost anything that's thrown at me for the most part. Even when plans go awry, like right now but then again, when we, let me preface this by saying, when we do this podcast, it's usually pretty loose as it is anyway. So when we made the plan to meet up, there was no definite time. It was like any time after 11, it's whatever.
No, the message said anytime around 11.
Well, you know, and everybody.
Janine, that means one.
Well, no, and that's
means
fine.
Tomorrow.
And that's fine because, like I said, I'm malleable. I'll work with anybody on anything. So it's just it's a compromise. Mm-hmm. It's like I know if Phil's going to be the first on top of it all because, you know, he's very one-track minded. It's like, hey, we're going to be there at 11. All right, I'll be there right at 11.
I don't like people waiting on me. It's just a thing. So it's like if something is set, it's like this starts at this time. I'm going to do my best to be there at this time.
Yeah, see, I wish more people were like you. Like, I'm late a lot just because it's Sundays. Like, that's my only days that I'm not. So y'all picked the wrong day for me to show up on.
It's either Sundays or Mondays. Those are my only 2 days off.
I can't do Mondays anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, you know, just having people just kind of be there, and I think that's, you know, making sure that we're kind of more, you know, accountable to each other, but also holding each other accountable kind of thing. So I think that can be really tricky. Like, you know, I think the biggest problems with like group projects in school is the fact that you can't really hold your group members accountable because they're just other students, and they're just like, hey, fuck you, and they're just gonna do their own thing. So
pretty much, it's kind of hard to be a leader in that aspect and delegate jobs out to people.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, our show here, you know, at the end of the day, this is my show.
Yeah.
Finger
quotes for those in the
I do that because I don't feel like it's because without you guys, the show means nothing to me. If I don't have you guys here, it's me literally talking to a mic for probably 15 minutes because I don't like talking as it is. I have to muster up the strength in order to
talk to no one into a microphone.
But I thought this show was important because, you know, as a group of nerds and creatives, that this show was needed, and I enjoy putting nerdy stuff out into the world. And that's why I'm glad I have this group of people here, even if we're not always on time, we're not always ready. But the 5 could be 6 eventually that we have here. I enjoy this group. So I'm willing to compromise when it comes to almost anything, to the point, because like, this isn't a business. This is just our show. And if it takes, you know, me having to wait a bit just to get the right folks in line so we can make that show work, then that's what I'll do. But that's how I feel about it. But I say that, and then it depends on the project. Yeah. If it's something that we're on a time crunch and we're getting paid for it, everybody get your shit together. We got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Phil, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Like, I completely forgot what I was going to say.
About being in collabs, because I know you were very heavy on collabs. You don't like doing anything alone.
Yeah. It's much easier for me to concentrate whenever there are people there, like, doing things. It's like, hey, we're doing this. I need you to work on this, or something like that.
You don't mind being delegated to.
Yeah. I don't mind being the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah, I think because, like, you know, I mean, and I think it's really useful to have that one-track mind kind of person in the group because, you know, for me, I'm kind of all over the place. Like, if we're working on a project, I'm here, like, maybe trying to write the script, but I'm also like, what are the costumes going to be? Like, what are we going to do with this? Like, what's all that about? You know, and so having someone that's like, we have this important task, you do it, and you can just focus on that. Like that is an extraordinary skill to have. I think that's kind of when you're working in projects. I think that's something that I need to learn to like be able to just go. Okay, I'm just gonna look at the script, and I'm just not. We're gonna take care of it. It's fine. All right.
But also, being a one-track mind can also be a downfall to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to build something all together, like when you're trying to be like a director or something like that.
You have to be able to not only be sure that you're working with your writers well, but you also need to make sure that you're working with your actors well, your effects, your costume people. And if you can't work those folks all at the same time, then you should not be running the show.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I don't mind being, like I said, the low man on totem pole, because I can't not be too one track mind. You want me to focus on something and that one thing only, that's fine. I can do that. That's fine with me.
It's like, give me 2 or 3 things. Wait,
hold on. You're going too fast. You want me to do this and this? You want me to walk and breathe at the same time? What? Who does that? But again, like collaboration, I'm totally fine. It helps me get through things easier, I would say.
I'll ask you this because, like when you were doing like little Let's Plays and stuff for when we were doing like little Let's Plays for Mirror's Edge, you didn't want to do those alone. You would literally wait for me in order to get episodes of those done.
Because of that, those Let's Plays that I want to do and did, I don't do well talking into a microphone by myself. I made a video.
Don't freak out.
Is there a ghost? It's a ghost.
We don't talk about it.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I made a video on the last video I made on my channel, and it was just me talking into a microphone, into a camera, that camera right there, and putting the two together. Yeah. And it was like the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
But it was hilarious.
It was pretty. I enjoyed it to the part where you mentioned everyone but me. So.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no. I mean, it's really, with a lot of creative projects, especially if you haven't like been doing it for a long time, it's really, really uncomfortable. Like, yeah, the first time I got up in front of a camera and started, making vlogs, I was just kind of like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like, why am I doing this? But it was just kind of like, you have to just push through it, because now I can, and I haven't really done it recently because I've just been lazy as fuck. But, now I can just get in front of the camera and I can talk and I'm comfortable. But it took me a while to get to that point.
Unless you're that showman type, I don't expect you to be able to just jump out and be like, hey, I'm on camera. Mm-hmm. It's me and you right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk.
But how would you describe yourself? Would you describe yourself as introverted or extroverted?
So introverted.
Introverted?
Like, I'm
okay.
kind of the introvert that knows how to survive as an extrovert.
Exactly.
So you're saying that you're like a chameleon. You can fit into other crowds. Exactly. I can't do that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm introverted. You want me to do something that's outside of my norm, I'm gonna petrify it.
But the thing is that, when we were kids, we were like personality-wise like the same. We're just like, people want to talk to us? Like, oh no. But I think, I was able to, got thrown in choir and theater and all this other stuff. So I was able to, through much pain and just kind of awkward and uncomfortableness, work through that and learn to kind of be like, okay, just do this and it'll be fine, and just kind of, you can escape at some point and just go sleep, and
Yeah, see, it's stuff like that I was thankful for, because like growing up for me, my mom made me do a lot of public speaking. So that stuff is terrifying. So I have this thing, especially, say for instance, if I had to do like something like a TED Talk or something, and I had to go stand up in front of people and speak, I'm going to be nervous up until the point I open my mouth.
Yeah. No, yeah, like when I have done speeches and given presentations, I even had to like read one of my short stories once. It was super awkward, even though there's only like 10 people in the room. It's like up to the point of just like, it's like this ultimate fear, and just like, I feel like there's like something growing inside me that I'm just like, oh god, I'm gonna die, like something's gonna burst out of me like aliens or something. And but then once you get up there and you're going through the motions, you're able to kind of just turn it off and just kind of get through it. But it's just kind of, and I think that's honestly, like, that's with everything. Like, even earlier I was talking about trying to get into writing instead of like playing video games. once I just get over the kind of trepidation of just like, I don't want to do that, it works out. And so I think the thing with recording yourself, either just with microphone or with camera, you just really just have to push yourself through it. And especially like if you're editing the videos, you're like, oh God, why does my voice sound like that? Like it's just so awful, you know. But
you are your own worst worst critic.
Exactly.
It's like,
like
I don't. It looks horrible. I look at them.
Right, and like at the end of the day, no one cares. Like there is. I saw this picture the other day, and it was like one was like there's a dark cloud behind the sky. And it was like nobody cares about me, and then the other one was like a bright nobody cares about me. Yay! You know, it's just kind of like, you know, no one. You can do the most embarrassing thing, and people will forget. Kind of thing. So you think that, oh my God, like I did this one thing when I was 10 and like. But
I won't forget. That's what matters.
Yeah,
I won't forget what I did on June 11th at 10 a.m.
You have to learn to get over yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best way that I can put it is get over yourself.
Get rid of that pride.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key to it all. Just get over yourself. Get over your hang-ups. Get over your insecurities. Get over your hesitancy. And just
do
push.
The damn thing.
Get past the threshold. Get over the hump. Get over yourself. Whatever you got to do in order to put one more word on the page. You do what you got to do. If you got to collaborate with people, collaborate with people. If you got to break away from a collaboration, break away from a collaboration. Do whatever you have to do to get over it, because being creative is hard. That is the long and short of it. It is a lot of fun, but it is really hard. And if you're going to do anything that is worth anything, you're going to have to get over something.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing that I always have told other writers is just always strive for improvement, always strive for that uncomfortableness, always push the bounds. Because I think like with writing, and that can be the same for any creative art, is that you have to know what you can do before you can find that thing that fits you best. So for instance, you know, I've written in almost every genre. I've realized that fantasy and comedy and horror are where I excel, and romance and, you know, sci-fi and things like that are where I do not excel. But I've tried them, and so now I know where my focus can lie, and I can improve upon that. So, you know, just kind of keep moving forward, keep making yourself uncomfortable, and you'll grow from that, I guess.
It's a matter of the second you start to feel comfortable, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. You have to change it up, because if you don't change it up, you'll get caught up in a rut, and then you'll tire of the very thing that you love, because this is all you know. If you don't try to do something new, like there are times it's like, you know, I have to pull a Deadpool in my head. All right, maximum effort, fuck it, and just go for it. And that's hard for me as a grown man. That's hard for me, because there are times I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm 12 years old again, trying to figure out, I don't think I really want to do this. And the man is like, little boy, get your shit together. We can do this. You're not going to die from it. Just try.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that it's just going to be uncomfortable. Like, if you, I mean, because when I first started recording, it was kind of like, oh, maybe I'm not meant to do this. But, you know, after, I'd probably say about 3 months of recording it once a week. That was when I was finally like, all right, I got this. This is okay. Like, even still, though, there's some things I'll say on there, and I'm like, that was stupid. But I keep it in because I have to force myself to just kind of, if it's out there, then I can make more mistakes, kind of thing. So
It's like when I listen to the podcast, there are times I'm listening, I'm like, I cringe at the sound of myself. Sometimes it's like, really? There's a moment where it's like, really? You mumbled right there? It's like, get your speech together. You can do better. So I force myself to listen to every episode to find out what we can do better. Not for the sake of a view, not for the sake of, ego boost or anything. I'm critiquing but that's where my mindset goes, because I went to art school and you critique everything and everybody.
Well, and critiquing is amazing. And critiquing is an amazing tool. Just making sure you're not being mean to yourself. Because I mean, when I started writing and when I started recording videos and things like that, I was always like, oh, this is terrible. And I thought that would kind of help me, motivate me to do better. But really, when it came down to it, it's like, okay, this is bad, but why is it bad? So it's bad because I need to do this kind of thing. So, my dialogue is bad because no one actually talks like that. So let me listen to how people from this area talk and things like that. So maybe, oh my gosh, the way I sound on camera is bad. Well, what can you do to make it better? Oh, I can practice voice exercises, or I can just let it go. Maybe it's nothing that I can fix. So maybe I just try to focus on other areas that I can. So.
And that's the big difference between a critique and an opinion. An opinion, it's just your thought in that moment. Whereas a critique takes meditated thought and also giving you the reason of how to make said issue better. And if you can't do that for yourself, then you're wasting your time, because either you're going to continue to do that same bad thing that you hate, or you're going to quit entirely because you just don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
So always strive for better. Always push for, what can make you better as a creator.
We've been at it for a while. I was actually about to say, we should probably
It's
introduce
40 minutes.
Yeah,
we should probably
we said at the beginning it was going to be a short episode.
Yeah.
It's almost an hour.
Hey, that's short for us.
I think for final thoughts, my mind just kind of wandered off to the idea of every diamond starts out as a lump of coal, and you've got to put it under extreme heat and pressure, and if it can survive, it'll become something truly special. And that's kind of the process that anyone doing anything creative has to go through. They got to go through the pressure, they got to go through the heat, they've got to get over it, get past it, whatever they got to do, and that takes discipline and determination.
And if you shoot for the stars but miss, you'll shoot for the moon and miss, you'll land among the stars. I totally messed that up.
At least you tried. But yeah, just I guess to wrap it all up, being a creative is hard.
Yes.
It will be hard.
Yeah.
If it's easy for you, go find something else to do. Because
Or just,
Go and find something
try
to-
to be the best then. It's easy for you.
that no one ever
Best
was.
does.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, just push yourself. Just even if it's something that you wouldn't do normally. Like, I've made the dumbest videos, I've written the dumbest things, and that's because my normal stuff doesn't get close to that in the dumb department. So it's just kind of things like that. Like, you just gotta find ways to. My voice keeps keeping that loud. I had a stroke.
My stand has affected her.
Anyways, whatever. Go carry on.
wow, she
She
completely lost.
gave up.
We've talked a lot about what you can and can't do and how to challenge yourself and things like that. But I think above all else, don't lose the fun in it, because if you lose that, you're going to lose it all.
And there's no point at that point.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, then it's not worth doing. So do what you have to do to get it done. But as soon as it becomes harder than your job, maybe take a little break. Consider a new stance. But the fun is what is going to give you enough air to keep going.
And learn to laugh at yourself. I think that was a big game changer for me. Was when just now, that could have embarrassed me, but I thought it was hilarious. So
It's not like it's getting cut, so you're fine.
yeah. But yeah. So you have thoughts from you?
Go.
Just try and stay focused. If you need to be one-track mind, be one-track mind.
Yeah. Learn yourself. Yeah.
At the end of the day, like Forrest said, if you're not enjoying it, step back or step away. Continue to be creative, because I feel like we need more creative people in this world. Things are so not bad right now, but folks are just so.
They're pretty bad. Let's be honest.
Folks are so angry and stuff all this because they don't know how to express themselves creatively. And if we can get back to that point, I think we could do better as people. Just keep creating.
Yeah.
Keep trying. That's the point of this whole thing. I think that's something that we all need to hear from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening.
Please, do us a favor. Leave us a comment. What keeps you creative? Just comment down. I almost pointed. I have a tendency to point downward, like people can see us. But leave a comment. Let us know what you think about being a creative, and what do you do to continue to stay on that point. We love you guys.
I'm indifferent about you.
And again, I'm DevTheDoc.
I'm Phil.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Forrest.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.